Good morning, and welcome to Redeemer Lutheran Church. I'm Pastor Gary Lodeholt. Here's a question I had never thought of before. You've seen movies and television shows with people in prison, and they mark each day on the wall in some sort of countdown. Well, if you were in that situation, do you think you'd count the days you have served or the days until you get out? My guess is that most of us would count the days we have served, but it may be more hopeful to count the days until we get out. That's looking forward in hope rather than backwards with dread. St. Paul had that same sense. You see, he wrote these letters while he was in prison, to be sure, but I think he may have thought about every day when he couldn't be with Jesus in heaven, like being in prison. This week we're looking at the letters Paul wrote in prison and focusing on his words of hope in the midst of a hopeless situation. Words that spoke not only to his time, but also to ours. Paul was so convinced of the reality of the victory of Jesus that he looked forward to the day he would die and reunite with Jesus. That's clear in his letters to the Philippians. Let me be clear, Paul didn't court death, but he was ready for it when it came. In his letter to the Philippians, Paul almost seems despondent late in the first chapter. In fact, it sounds like he expects to die. And so he writes to them in chapter 1, verse 20, "It is my eager expectation and hope that I will not be put to shame in any way, but that by my speaking with all boldness, Christ will be exalted now as always in my body, whether by life or by death." That's how strong Paul's faith was. He knew that whether his bold speaking allowed him to live or led to his death, Christ would be glorified. In fact, a few verses later, he talks clearly about how he hopes to be released from his sufferings and unite with Christ. But at the same time, he also knows that his remaining alive is good for the Philippians so that he can continue to teach and preach the gospel. So Paul was content either way, and good would come either way. His faith was in Christ, and his hope never failed. No matter what our prisons, no matter our difficulty or trouble, may we have that faith. May we have that hope. Thanks for watching, and remember to let this day belong to God.